Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Glensheen Manor Murders. This one was going to be part of the first video, but I found it kind of interesting and thought it should get its own video. So here we are. The day starts in June 27th, 1977, Duluth, Minnesota. A nurse, Mildred Groove, shows up for her shift at the Glensheen Manor, a house owned by 83-year-old Elizabeth Congton, who suffered a stroke recently and needs around-the-clock care. Now, everything seems normal when she enters the manor, except she notices Velma Patilla atop the staircase, covered in a pool of her own blood. Horrified by this scene, she rushes to go check on Mrs. Congton and finds her unresponsive. Which, yeah, that sounds like the perfect start to a shift, perfect start to a day. Just awesome, I guess. God. Before we go any further, though, let's talk about who Elizabeth Congton is and what is the Glensheen Manor. Elizabeth Congton is the seventh daughter born by Chester Congton and his wife Clara Congton. Now, Chester was kind of a big deal in the region, being incredibly influential and very wealthy by this time, mostly getting it from copper and iron mines that were around Duluth at the time. And also definitely not completely exploiting his workers heavily. But having such a big family, he decided to build a house on Lake Superior. That house being 39 rooms big. Don't even know possibly what you could fit in all those rooms. But, shit, I guess. And Chester Congton lived in this house until 1916, followed by his wife's death in 1950, but she didn't die until she actually passed the house down to her daughter, Elizabeth, and her actual adopted daughters, Jennifer and Marjorie Congton. So now let's get back to the actual crime scene. After investigation, the police found that Velma Patilla, 67, was hit a total of 23 times with a candlestick. And honestly, the saddest part of that aspect of the crime is she was not supposed to be there at all. Like, she actually retired a month prior to this, but she decided to show up for work due to a younger nurse calling in sick and thinking that she'd just show up just to help around. She worked under Elizabeth for a while and just kind of didn't have much of a problem showing up to help, and it's just horrible that this happened to honestly what seemed like a very good person, I guess. As for Elizabeth, it was found that she was smothered to death with a pillow, and something that was just weird, I found it funny, was every news article and draft I read on the story, they were all very weirdly specific that it was a stained pillow she was murdered with. Yeah, I guess I kind of like the idea that a bunch of reporters were like asking police questions and stuff, and they're like, "So she was killed with a pillow, you say?" They're fucking freaking out, like, "No, it was a stained pillow, you bastard." Of course, as there were no eyewitnesses to the crime, they didn't really have a lot to really go off. That is until they found out about Marjorie Congton and her husband Roger. And yeah, you're gonna really find out all you really need to know about these two. Marjorie is definitely the most interesting part of the story, I would say. After divorcing her first husband, she moved to Colorado, where she found and married George. Here they lived a very just extravagant life. Just fancy cars, fancy furniture, shit ton of jewelry. They lived such an extravagant life that they ended up spending way over their means, to the point to where in a single year they spent $1 million, which if you crunch the numbers today would be about equal to $5 million in 1 year. And I don't even know what I could possibly buy with $5 million in a single year now, let alone in fucking 1977. Like, I have no idea. Hey, me editing this video, but right here, what the fuck I could buy for $1 million. Right here. Yeah. So at the time of the murder, they were clearly incredibly bankrupt, to the point that the banks actually repossessed literally everything they had, forcing them to move to a motel with their 7 kids. And I know anyone else who comes from a huge family, I can't imagine being in a room the size of a motel room with the rest of my siblings. Oh, God, fucking put a gun to my head. Holy shit. Normally, this wouldn't be that big a problem for them, though, as they would go get more money from Elizabeth, but ever since her stroke, of course, all of her money was being handled by beneficiaries and stuff, which kind of understandable, as I don't think a 83-year-old stroke patient, who is also a woman, should be handling tens of millions of goddamn dollars. But yeah, fuck me, I guess. So, seeing how there was just an army of fancy dressed money sniffers, I like to imagine them as, in their way, you would think they would just try another avenue, like I don't fucking know, getting a job. But no, they instantly just tried any way imaginable to get that money from them. The first thing they tried was trying to get $750,000 a month before the murder. Reports saying Roger gave the beneficiaries a clearly forged doctor's note, saying they needed the money to buy a horse ranch because a doctor told them the dry air would help their son's asthma. Of course, they got rejected of that money, and then they later tried again, this time only 10 days before the murder, to get $250,000. This time, they were a lot more desperate to get this money, as they were being actively investigated for insurance fraud, and they needed the money to hire a lawyer to defend them in said cases. Again, they were denied this money just immediately. So they turned to the next best thing. Killing your mother-in-law, or your mother at this case, yeah. But first, let's talk about their actual preparation for the murder. That being a notarized document made by Marjorie 3 days before the killing that actually said, if mom dies, Roger gets $2 million. Just incredible. Oh. Then there's the actual night before the murder, or I guess the night of the murder. Roger boards a plane to Minnesota, reportedly being completely drunk. He then goes to the Glensheen Manor, breaks a basement window to make it look like a break-in robbery, but then backtracks to the front of the house and uses his wife's key to get in through the front door. Okay, I guess. Just looks at all the broken glass and like, oh, that looks like it'll hurt. So he goes in through the front door where he actually meets Velma and proceeds to, of course, beat her to death with the candlestick. Very sad. Very unfortunate. But as he was doing this, he actually somehow cut his lip and finger on her shoes. I don't know how you do that, really. I mean, I know you're, like, struggling in a circumstance like that, but, like, did Velma have shoes that were made from fucking razor blades? I don't know. Of course, after he gets done killing her, you would expect that this would be the time when he leaves, he gets out of the house. But nope, he actually then proceeds to undress completely and take a shower in the house. I actually believe it was in the exact same room he just murdered Elizabeth, as she had like a bathroom connecting to her room. Take a shower, change completely into brand new clothes, and then steal as much jewelry and just anything that was worth just anything from the house, along with a rare Bresenite penny, which is just a rich penny fancy rich people have, I guess. Then he takes Velma's car, drives back to the airport, where employees report him buying a bag, and proceeds to transfer all the stolen jewelry into said bag right in front of them. Just genius. Just true criminal mastermind right there. He also proceeds to write a letter to himself and put the Branzanite coin inside the letter and send that off to his house in Arizona or in California, sorry. And he did that as a actual like a telling sign to Marjorie that the job was done. And you'll find out here soon that that is just one of the dumbest things he could do. I mean, clearly, just so much evidence he's leaving. But the best part is when the two actually showed up for the funeral of Elizabeth wearing all the stolen jewelry. When funeral goers reported this to the police just immediately, they actually raided their hotel room, or the hotel they were staying at, and found 25 pieces of stolen jewelry along with the bag Roger purchased at the airport. Also, at this point, they kind of already were very invested into them. Like, they were like, it's these guys. We need to focus all effort on these guys. That they actually intercepted the letter Roger sent to his house before it even got there, where they matched his handwriting 99.93% to him, got his DNA, and of course have the penny. Which, why would you ever do this? Like, you are going to get to your house before that letter, like probably a straight up week, or probably even before that. So there's no point in you like doing this. It's just adding so much more evidence that you fucking murdered your mother-in-law. Crazy, dude. But of course, when they have this much evidence, they were just right to trial. Roger's trial was actually not that interesting. His first trial did end up getting overturned due to problems with the evidence. They were saying it was like mishandled and stuff like that. Um, which I wonder how much that actually happened. Like you hear that so much in like past crimes, like in like the 1960s going to present day and stuff like that. So it's like how many people actually got off due to the police just doing a shitty job. In his second conviction, he would be given a plea deal for a second degree murder where he would only have to end up serving 5 years, which that's crazy that you can just get away with murdering two people and only having to serve 5 years. But he would end up getting out in 1988, but would then go on to commit slewer slide. He would leave a letter saying, "I did not kill those girls." Um, just a liar to the end, I guess. Just couldn't come to terms with it, jackass. As for Marjorie's trial, this was a lot more like complicated, I would say, as most of the evidence pointed to Roger, even though most of the police and investigators of this case all agreed that she was the main mastermind of this case. Like, she was telling Roger what to do and everything like that. But they just didn't have the evidence to back that up. She also somehow got Ron Mashbursher? Potato Masher, to be her attorney, who at this time was one of Minnesota's best defense attorneys. Along with her coming off as very kind in the courtroom, she would show up to court and just sit there and knit. She even brought a cake for one of the lawyers or one of the plaintiffs, I guess, when she found out it was their birthday. It's also believed that because most of the jury was actually female, they found her endearing somehow, or they sympathized with her in this case, that she actually got acquitted of all charges. Like, it was just like, nope, she's innocent, which is just incredibly tragic. Incredibly tragic. But don't be too upset, because it can get worse. It can get a lot worse. The justice system can fail a lot of times. As in 1984, she was convicted of setting fire to her third husband's house in an attempt to kill him, of which she only had to serve 2 years, getting out in 1986 until she was later arrested again in 1993 for trying to burn down her neighbor's house in Arizona, where she wouldn't leave until 2004. And then after that, she kind of stayed on the up and up, I guess, if you can call someone who tries burning two people alive and having their mother killed up and up, I guess. But in 2007, she would gain the friendship of an elderly man in a assisted living home, convincing him to have her help him with his finances. It's then that he died under suspicious circumstances. He's still were writing checks using his name and actually having them sent to her to deposit and stuff like that. When police investigated into his death, she used her power of attorney that she also convinced him to give her to have his body instantly cremated before they could even, like, look at it. It was also believed that she attempted to burn down the bank that she was depositing the checks to. Which, I mean, not surprising at all. I mean, that's the third attempt of arson she had. I'm sure if she could have it her way, she would probably have her mother burned. Odd. But, yeah. They couldn't prove any of this, by the way. They couldn't prove she killed this old man. They couldn't prove she tried burning down the bank. She couldn't prove any of it. So she got off literally just scot-free. No charges, like, nothing happened to her because of this. And it's just so sad that that it just seems like someone can just get off with so much and just not have any sort of justice. You might be wondering where she is now, or you might not be wondering that, but it was reported she's believed to still be alive someplace in Arizona. She would be 93 at this time, but that's really all, at least I could find about her. But knowing her, she's probably fucking setting fire to old folks' home. I don't know. Probably just just bullying her fucking old residents. Fucking being a terrible person. I don't know. But that basically just sums it up, really. That is the Glensheen murder cases. I found it incredibly interesting. Hopefully you guys did too. But that sums it up, really. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And please go watch another one of my videos. I know at the time of this one coming out, my selection is incredibly small. If I keep those videos up, there should be 4 left. But yeah, just put one of those up on the background. And just leave it. Just leave it there. Make sure to set up auto start and make sure another one of my videos is up after that, because that will very much help me. Thank you guys. Love you all. Hope to make more videos very soon. And have a lovely time, everybody. Peace.